Hello, welcome back to Yarns for the Soul with Nicole. I'm so excited to bring you my very special next guest, the lovely Jenny, who I met earlier this year as well when I moved down to Central Otago. And the first time we met was a group coffee, but we ended up spending like an extra 2 hours together just yarning. She was one of those people that I immediately clicked with. We had so much in common, so much to yarn about, and it was amazing. And she has been a really good friend since I moved down. She's one of those people I feel like I've known her forever. And she, when I first met her, she was talking about wanting to quit law. And so obviously I just said, I'm here for you. I can give you my opinion. I can tell you why I left, but obviously it's your own journey to go through. And she recently, the last month or so, has quit law too. So today we are delving into all things leaving law, leaving a profession and what that's like, and finding yourself and your new identity outside of work and all of that. So we are now two recovering lawyers alongside each other, and it's great to have her support on this journey now. So very excited for the episode today. We discuss all things leaving law, plus a bunch of other stuff along the way. I'm so excited to have some epic yarns today. I've got the lovely Jenny here joining me.
Hello!
Are you prepared? Are you feeling ready to yarn?
I hope so. No, I'm ready. I'm excited.
Yes. Jenny and I have both recovering lawyers. Jenny's more recently recovering than I am. So today we're going to yarn about our experiences of leaving the profession behind, perhaps forever, don't know yet. And we met start of this year in February. Was it February?
Yeah.
I think it was February. And that was just after I'd quit. And I remember Jenny saying that you were thinking of quitting. And then it took another few months before it actually happened.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that you joined me and left. So how long have you been free?
Freedom! So I think it's been probably about a month or so. I quit my job. Well, I left. My last day was the 1st of July.
You keeping count?
I am. Yeah, that was my last official day. I was free.
Yeah.
So
do you feel like you've decided that you're done with law?
I think there's always that little tie. Like in my mind, I said, this is it, but I know that I have said that before in the past and it hasn't necessarily been it. But I think, the fact that I'm still saying I think is there's not 100% certainty there, but
yeah. How long were you practicing for?
So I'd been practicing for roughly about 7 years with a wee gap in there.
So you was it one break from law, or were there a couple of breaks in there?
There was one break when I was made redundant for about a year, and then the rest of that time. So practicing as a lawyer for about 6 years in total.
So the year off.
The year off was...
What did that look like?
It was absolutely fabulous. So being made redundant, I remember feeling, yay, I'm free. I had that freedom feeling. And
even though you're made redundant.
I know. It's crazy.
I think it would feel a bit shit, but...
You would think. But I remember I'd flown to Christchurch because I was working for a Christchurch law firm, and I didn't know that it was happening. COVID was just about to hit.
Was it because of COVID?
Well,
combination?
Yes. It was a combination. It had been coming for 6 months, and we'd tried to work around me not being made redundant, but it just wasn't working. I was the only one working in Queenstown. The rest of them were in Christchurch, and it wasn't going so well. And then I think COVID was like the tip of the iceberg type thing. And so he just said to me that day, we can do the whole 4-week redundancy process, or I can pay you out for 7 weeks and you can leave today, and
Wow.
that's it. Yeah.
That's correct. You didn't really have time to think about it.
I did not have time to think. I held it together. I remember we were sitting at a coffee shop and I just said, okay, let's do it. And he just said, cool, so you'll give me the laptop back and and you'll fly home, and that's it.
It's like a breakup.
It was a breakup. And I held it together until the last moment. My mum was sick at the time, and he asked me how my mum was, and I just burst out crying. And I knew he felt terrible. He was like, you did so well. You were really holding it together. Anyway, so moving on from there, I did a range of different things. I did a TEFL course, teaching English.
Language, yeah.
Yeah, as a foreign language.
Nice.
I think that was just a time filler for me.
Yeah. Did you ever do any teaching?
I did not.
Okay. I was like, did I miss something? But
no, but I mean, we pretty much went straight into lockdown.
Yes, of course.
So I was made redundant. I think it might have been about a week, and then we went into that 5 weeks.
It was about 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was wonderful. I mean, my partner was home at the time, obviously, because the whole country was in lockdown.
So you just hung out?
Just hung out.
Yeah.
Dog
and you had
walks.
some money?
I had 7 weeks of pay.
Yeah, great.
No savings.
Well.
And I was like, we'll just figure it out. And then I went on the dole.
Yeah. Nice.
For the first time in my life, I went on the dole.
Were there, I mean, I can kind of imagine being some feelings.
About being on the dole?
Were there feelings? I don't know.
There were feelings, 100%. I was like, wow, I'm a dole bludger. No
but
disrespect.
I guess with COVID and stuff as well, though, like finding work.
There was not work.
Insane.
Yeah, it was. And I didn't get one follow-up from, who was it, Wins.
Yeah.
I didn't get one follow-up the whole time.
Asking what you're up to.
Yeah, no.
Just too easy.
But I think they knew, I'd been a lawyer for 7 years. There were no jobs.
Yes.
They did say to me, you'd have to be prepared to go into other industries.
Or I guess move cities or something.
They didn't say move, but as I say,
a big step.
I didn't get follow-up, so... But I wasn't sitting around doing nothing. I was dabbling in network marketing and doing things to try and bring in extra income, doing cleaning, other bits and pieces. And then I think it was about 6 to 8 months in, I got an admin job.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the admin stuff?
So I was working for an immigration law firm. Oh, no, they weren't a law firm, but immigration work.
So at least it was sort of like law adjacent. So it was,
Exactly. And I had done immigration work before that, so I was familiar with it. I think the biggest thing for me was I was getting paid, probably half of what I would have been, to sort of feel like I was doing similar work.
Right, yeah.
And
I guess because you had all that knowledge anyway.
Yeah. It just, I felt, well, I might as well be a lawyer.
Yeah.
And that's what
and
led
get
me
more
back.
money.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it came back to, really, money.
Yeah. Did you end up working for that immigration firm, or you got a new job as a lawyer?
I got a new job as a lawyer. So I worked for the immigration firm, I want to say about 6 months. And then it was in the new year that I started at the law firm in Cromwell.
How did you feel going back to law, despite the pay rise?
Yeah, well, I negotiated a really nice pay rise.
Good. So that felt good.
That felt good. And it felt right. I think that's the thing, is I've always been guided by, what feels right to me. And it did, despite my feelings around law, I did feel like it was the right decision at the time, because it allowed me to buy my own home.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I would have got bank lending on the wage that I was earning. And so I think there was so many positive things that came out of me going back to law, because that last stint was probably about 1.5 years.
Oh, right.
Yeah. A wee law firm change in the midst of that, just from us breaking out onto our own law firm. And yeah.
Yeah. So it started off positive. You got to get your house.
Yeah.
All these amazing things. Was there a point where your thought process started changing, or you started questioning it again?
Yes, I think I remember, it's quite typical, well, probably in any job, that you have your kind of 3-month review.
Yeah.
So I was in my boss's office in tears, telling her that I thought I should resign. 3 months in.
Did you have your mortgage by that stage? Or not quite?
No, I didn't. No.
Yeah.
So potentially a little more free at that stage. Could have resigned.
Yeah. Did she convince you to stay? Or?
She was really good about it. She was never, you have to stay. Obviously, it was my choice. She explained to me that it was like climbing a mountain, and you've just got to keep climbing that mountain.
In terms of like your career in law, was climbing a mountain?
In terms of when you start any job, it's difficult and it feels hard, and you're learning lots of new things. And I was getting great mentorship for sure, and so it was hard. I was working really hard, as opposed to a lot of my career up until that point was quite cruisy. I didn't get a lot of work, and I wasn't really being challenged. So her view was, keep climbing that mountain, you'll have hard days, but just keep going.
And it'll be worth it.
It'll be worth it.
Yes. Does that still, like, now looking back and reviewing that conversation, does that resonate? Or are you like, was she kind of just saying the right thing?
I think she truly believed it. And I think she did. She said to me, I see something in you, and I think you could be a great lawyer, but you're holding yourself back. And I was holding myself back because I knew deep down it's not what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But everyone around you sort of I'm very much a people pleaser and influenced by the people around me. And, everyone's telling you, just stick it out. Just give it a year. And so that was kind of I had a meeting with her and another partner, and it was kind of the goal was give it at least a year.
Yeah.
Because you don't sort of know until that point whether it's going to work or not. So I did.
Yeah. You give it a go.
I gave it 1.5 years.
Yeah. Wow. I just think there's something that like hits me when you talk about the, climbing a mountain thing. Is just the different mindset, possibly just the generational difference that you have to just keep grinding.
Yes.
Which I think has changed so much with our generation now coming through. We're like, no, we refuse to grind. There's going to be a balance. And there's just something about like the idea of her saying that to you just annoys me.
Yeah.
Even if it was the right thing to say at the moment.
Yes. But. And it's funny you say that, because my new boss is closer to our age. And that's her view as well. She said, even the generation before us, so our parents, have that grind mindset, and that probably won't change, because they probably think we're high in the sky and that it's not what we want is not achievable, but we know it is. We know that, I've always known deep down that I can have a job that fulfills me and that doesn't feel like I'm having to get out of bed every day for this horrible... Sorry, that's my tummy. We grumble there.
You tried to keep a straight face. It was great.
A little like yeah. So I hear you with that, because I think at the time I was like, okay, yes, keep climbing that mountain, but deep down, this is not the mountain I want to be climbing.
No. Or what is the point? Am I going to get to the top?
Yeah.
What does the top look like?
Yes.
Am I going to like it up there?
Yes.
And you don't know.
Yes.
It's like, oh, unknown. Is it actually going to be worth it?
And that's a really good point, actually, because one day, obviously the goal for a lot of lawyers is to be a partner of a law firm. And one day, one of my colleagues said to me, so, do you want to be a partner? And my boss was just in her office, and I froze. And that was my moment of reflection of, I don't want to.
No. So you never really thought about it?
Well, no, I always knew I wanted to be a leader.
Yes.
And I've explained that in, when I would have my interview in the beginning, I would say, I think I want to lead people and mentor them. And
it's like one of your passions, like it drives you.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I had never really thought, I guess it was always in the back of my mind that that's the top.
Yeah.
That's where you're leading to. But in that moment, I thought, is this what I'm working towards? To be a partner of a law firm? I actually don't think I want. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone ever actually, or maybe like friends and family asked.
Yes.
Initially, and like as I went along my own legal journey, people sort of asked like, oh, what's next? Or like, what are you working towards? Are you going to be a partner one day? And there was never any part of me that wanted to be a partner. Like, none of it resonated.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that was partly because I never was like, it was never demonstrated to me, like, a really good partner. Like, there was a couple that I liked along the way, but I was just like, no. Like, you watch them go through all the stress.
Yeah.
And try and juggle and have, like, some sort of balance. And it never really seemed to happen. And you kind of just watch them getting even more and more exhausted as the year went on. And you're like, why? Why would I want that?
Yeah.
But then you start thinking, well, if that's not what I want, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What is the next thing?
Well, yeah, what am I doing here? What if I don't want to, be a partner, then what do I want to do? Do I just stay here and just, where do I go?
Yeah. And I think, because I ended up, 4 different legal jobs within 5.5 years. So I think my approach was like, we'll just collect some experience and give different things a go, and then maybe something will stick. And I don't regret that approach, and I think it meant I could tick things off fairly quickly to be like, no, I've tried that, we'll move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'd felt maybe more like risk averse, looking back, I'm like, I could have easily stayed in each of those jobs for 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And maybe not realise until I was in like my mid-30s that law's not for me.
Yeah.
So it's been quite good looking back through that lens and realising I feel like I did what I needed to do to figure out that it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
But it's still frustrating because I look back and I think, well, why did I even do any of it for a start? Like the law degree is like 5 years of uni and then 5+ years of working. Like, cool, now what am I doing?
I know. And that's 10 years of your life that you... And I'm the same. I do not regret it because I believe that all of those skills and where I am now is so valuable for even just, for me, I did a lot of commercial law. So, with having goals of starting my own business, I do have a head start in that area. But I'm the same. I had 4 jobs in 4 different cities over a space of about 6 years, 7 years, and I'm glad I did that as well because so many people that I worked with, I shouldn't say so many, but there were people along the way that you could see that's what would happen is they weren't necessarily happy, but they'd probably stay in that job and just that unsatisfaction. You're just not.
Or maybe it was just to the concept of potentially packing up your life and moving cities like we've done. That's a lot of work.
It is.
And kind of takes a bit of courage to be like, do something completely new in a new city. Yeah. So you can sort of see how people are like, oh no, that's just too hard.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're waiting to see if the job gets better, or this new project or something is coming in and I'll get to work on that, so I'll stay for that. And then you kind of just keep staying.
Yeah, there's always the next thing. And I think that's where, I mean, everyone's different, but I was just sort of thought, no, I'm not going to sit around and wait for things to get better. And I think you get to the point where, I mean, how far along had you decided that it wasn't for you? You know, when did that decision come for you?
Well, it's quite funny because how many jobs have I had? So I was, at the end of my third job, I actually quit without having a plan, because I'd got to like a bit of a breaking point. And I was like kind of finally realizing my own worth and my own value, and where I was at that point wasn't valuing me and wasn't actually giving me the experience that I wanted. So I was like, okay, what's the next step going to be? And I didn't actually have a next step, so I was like, I'll take a break. And my plan was to, you know, potentially come down to Central Otago. I was like, I actually love the idea of working on vineyards or something over summer, having a break, figuring it out from there. And then by chance, maybe about a week after I'd resigned, I was contacted by the firm in Wellington that I then went on to work for to say they had space. So I was like, okay. But I kind of joked to everyone at the time. I was like, okay, we'll try one more time. We'll try this one, and if it doesn't work, then I should quit law. But it was weirdly just like a self-fulfilling prophecy, I think. But because the type of work, like, it was a great opportunity, the type of work they were doing in Wellington. And I was like, oh, no, I have to give that a go, because it was just, like, it was quite fulfilling, as hard as it was. But I was like, I'd be annoyed at myself for not trying. And then a year later, I was like, I'm done. I think it was like a whole combination of like realizing my own value and trying to look after yourself. And it's so hard if your workplace isn't helping you to help you look after yourself. There's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
Just, you're one human. And especially I think the work I was doing was quite emotionally draining, mentally draining, trying to help other people. But I'm like, if I can't even show up as my full self, how am I meant to help anyone else? So I was like, we'll just take a break. Just step away. I tried to transition out of law and go down to like part-time and remote work and stuff. And everything just kind of hit the fan, and it was like, felt someone was kind of shaking me, like grabbed me by the shoulders and was like, just quit, damn it.
Yeah.
Just leave. But it was quite hard leaving and being like, I literally have no plan.
Yeah.
But also knowing how much time I'd probably need just to rest and recover was quite scary.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably something that stops a lot of people from leaving, is you think you need a plan.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you've got a mortgage to pay, so you kind of did need a plan.
I did need a plan, and everyone told me I needed a plan, but I think there is a point that you get to, and you would hope that you didn't leave it to breaking point to make a change, but a lot of the time that's what happens. You just, I don't want to say hit rock bottom, because I don't think I was at rock bottom.
Could you see yourself heading there though? Or like towards a burnout sort of?
I think it was that whole question that you asked yourself of, do I want to be here in 5 years, or do I want to be here in 1 or 2 years? And when you know without hesitation that the answer is no, then what am I doing? Why am I staying here? I know I hate this. And for me, it was constantly in the back of my mind, okay, so what if I do this and then I can leave? Or always trying to figure out a plan
like
to
start
leave.
A side hustle or something.
Yes.
Or go down to part-time and like have that transition phase.
Yes, and you're on Seek every single day.
Oh my God, yes.
Looking for jobs, and you're so lost and confused because one side of you might be looking at legal jobs, and then why would I go to another legal job? That is the problem here. It's not necessarily the law firm I'm at. It's that I don't
the profession.
It's the profession. I don't enjoy this work. It's not for me.
But did you struggle kind of giving up your identity of, well, I have to be a lawyer. I have to go into another legal job. Not only for the money, obviously.
Yeah.
But because this is what you've done. This is what you've trained in. So I'm
Yeah.
like, well, what if I'm not a lawyer? I can't call myself a lawyer.
Yes.
So what am I?
And this is it. I think you and I have had discussions about this, these labels that we put on ourselves or society or our families.
Yeah.
And this view, this perception of a lawyer is
what they look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you tell someone you're a lawyer and, you know, you're put on a pedestal of, wow, you know, that's amazing.
Or I've had the response of like, really? Are you sure?
Are you sure
Can't
you're a lawyer?
imagine you being a lawyer.
Yeah. And so it's interesting because where I am now and where I was is such a difference. And yeah, it's letting go of what everyone else around you might think and just trusting yourself. I think that was the thing. Yes, I didn't have a plan. I quit my job and I had no idea.
Yes.
I knew I would get paid out and I'd have enough money to last, honestly, a month if I was lucky. And that's scary. But everyone around me was really worried, like quite concerned.
Everyone was like panicking for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's like, you've got this. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to be fine.
I knew I would be fine. I just knew. Something deep inside me was like, look, worst case, I could go and work at the supermarket.
Yeah.
I will find a job.
Yeah.
There are so many jobs out there. That's the difference to when I was made redundant and there were no jobs. Now, there are
the
jobs.
opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's anything that you want to do. I think for me, it was really end of last year when I was thinking about quitting and what my plan was actually going to be. Someone suggested, well, like, rather than saying, oh, well, I can't be a lawyer, what am I going to do? Like, look at all the skills or the experience that you've had and think about what can you do with that. I'm like, I can do anything.
Yeah.
And it was like some of the situations that I'd been in as well. I'm like, nothing is going to seem stressful in comparison to this.
Yeah.
All the stuff that you kind of take for granted, all the different communication skills, all the situations you've been in. You're like, yeah, okay, I will be fine.
Yeah.
And just changing how you perceive it. And then once you start to let go of the attachment of calling yourself a lawyer and looking at all the other jobs out there, it's actually kind of fun. Be like, oh, I could go do this. And it's just some completely random job. And you could do it for like 3 months and be like, oh no, I'm done. We'll do something else.
Yeah.
But there's so much freedom in that.
Yeah. And I think it does come back to that perception. I mean, there is always two ways to look at something. And my view was, what is the worst thing that can happen? You know, what truly is the worst thing? Okay, I can't find a job. But I knew if I really wanted to find a job, if I was prepared to work absolutely anywhere, which sounds crazy because I think the people that I work with kind of, you know, I remember them saying well, they didn't say to me, is it really that bad? But I know, or do I know? I don't know. But I feel like there was an element of, you know, you're a little bit crazy. Why don't you just, because they said to me, I was very open with them about how I was feeling and I just don't think law is for me and I really need to go away. And they said to me, you're going away to find yourself. And they always said to me, you know, if you want to come back, if this doesn't work out for you.
If you can't find yourself.
If you don't
If
find
you get
yourself. There's a job for you here. And I knew I would not be going back. I knew that. But yeah, I think, I don't know, it's just trusting that it's the right time and everything that I had done in my career has led me to this point and it's all been very valuable, but it's time to make a change.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. Did you feel like you had a bit of a mourning period or anything? Like
I
the
think
loss of, because it is such a big chunk of time, the study and then the working, you're like, have I, like, it's easy to think that was a waste of my time or I've lost that.
mm-hmm.
Did you have those sorts of thoughts, or you were...
The way I would look at it is the feeling of the only thing I can liken it to right now, very weird scenario, but many years ago, being in a relationship where you've kind of mentally checked out already, but the breakup doesn't happen until, you know.
Such a good analogy.
Yeah. And so I think mentally I had checked out.
Like you hadn't been present in it
I
for
hadn't.
a long time.
I hadn't. And so I think by the time it came to me leaving, I almost had already grieved.
Yes.
You know?
There's already sort of some closure.
Yeah.
Like you knew that it was right.
Yeah. And I knew that I had already experienced the feeling of being made redundant. I can see me. I'm in Christchurch and I'm walking down the street and I'm like Miss Congeniality or something. Like I'm just strutting down the street and I'm like,
I love it.
I'm like, I'm free. And I remembered that feeling and I just held on to that. I was like, I know I can feel that again and I'm gonna just feel like I'm breaking out of this cage.
It's quite funny because, I mean, on the one hand, all of these like freedom and cage like analogies, it's kind of depressing.
A little bit.
When you're like, the legal profession was a cage. I was stuck. But I, like, the longer that I've been out, like, the more I think back to probably all 4 of my jobs, I'm like, I was stuck. And because you get so deep in it and that's your day to day, and then you're surrounded by other people that are in the same scenario as you, that becomes your normal. And depending on like the type of work you were doing, and like for me some of the work I did was quite traumatic, but that became my normal, and everyone else around me thought it was normal too, because that was their day to day. It's not until you take that step back and you have conversations with people outside of law, they're like, oh my god, like the situations you've been in and dealt with are insane, and they're like, of course you need a break.
Yeah.
But it's so easy to get stuck in it, and now looking back, and I think I just kept trying to convince all my friends that are still in law, I'm like, you need to quit.
Yeah.
But then I do have friends that are in law that really love their job, they've got a great firm, so I'm like, there's still hope.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing in terms of being trapped in this cage. I mean, I put myself in that cage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To a degree.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I felt that way. I don't know, I guess it's going back to what we've both been, you know, really diving into work on ourselves, and I think it's taking responsibility and realizing that this career never resonated with me. I mean, I enjoyed my studies. I did 4 years, not 5.
We can round it up.
But I knew from, you know, in my first year as a lawyer, I would say, I don't know how far in, maybe 3 or 4 months, I started doing a night course as a beauty therapist.
Was it that early on?
It was that early on.
You're already planning your exit.
I was. That's scary to think. It's quite sad.
But then, so at uni, you enjoyed the study.
Hold on a minute there.
Okay.
I enjoyed the first 2 years.
Okay.
I was getting good grades. I was loving it. In my 3rd and 4th year, I really found the party life. I didn't buy one book or like reading. I didn't do readings. I showed up to class. I skimmed through the rest of my degree.
Yeah. Had you checked out at that point?
By 4th year, I was definitely checked out. I try and not quit things.
So you sort of felt like you had to keep going because you got so far through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what would I do? It's that fear of, what would I do? If I quit now, what would I do?
Yeah. Did you know before you actually started your first job that it wasn't for you? Or was it not until you got into practice that you're like, no?
It was almost this feeling of there's no other option. What? I didn't even really understand the different areas of law that I could go into. Which sounds...
There's so much up, yeah.
There is.
I still barely understand half of law itself.
Yeah.
Like the type of work that you've done, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, same for you. Like, I love listening to your stories, but I'm like, wow, that's... I don't even know
I still don't know what torts is.
Well, what even is torts? I mean...
I don't know. I think in theory that's what I was doing in Wellington, but...
Yeah, well, do you want to hear something? The one paper I failed a paper. No, it was equity and succession, which is trusts, and my first job was trusts. And then trusts followed me through my whole career because I did it. I was haunted because I did it in my first job. Everyone hates trusts, and well, lawyers don't want to do trust work. It's just kind of a side work that gets left. So because I did it in my first job,
you had that experience.
I did. Yeah. So every job I went to, people were like, "Great, you can do the trust work."
And no one looked at your transcript to be like, "She failed trust."
No, I managed to get through. Oh, maybe I had to show it to my first job. Thereafter, I don't think anyone saw my transcript.
That's so funny. Yeah, like at uni, well, because the like compulsory courses, well, for me it was like second and third year was still all compulsory. So you kind of just keep soldiering on and be like, it'll get better once I start to choose my own courses, because then I get to like choose interesting stuff. And then all of a sudden I was in my fifth year and I'm like, is this what I want to do? Like, I enjoyed the sort of more like alternative, like criminal justice and human rights and international law. Like, that was kind of my jam. But I still didn't really know how that would like look in practice as an actual job. So I think I was a bit of a nerd and enjoyed like the study side of it. And then going out into practice, I was like, well, I want to do like get criminal experience and go into court and stuff. But that was also quite hard to do. Like, it wasn't really a direct line from law school into that sort of work. So you have to work quite hard to get there. And then once you're there, I'm like, oh, I still don't know.
I love that you put thought into that, because I can honestly say I was never intentional at university with what papers I was taking. When I was able to choose what papers I could take, it was based around, okay, what has the latest start? So that I can, yeah.
Were you not bored out of your tree with some of your courses? Or did you still, like, you're still interested enough? Or you've just played it out?
I quite enjoy studying. So I enjoyed learning. And so it didn't matter too much for me what I was learning, because I think I took like, what was it? There was some immigration stuff in there as well. So ironically, I did choose papers that I actually enjoyed. Yeah. But none of it was, I didn't think, okay, so where do I want to go after I get out of university? And how can I study that now and learn about it? Because I didn't even know where I could go. Yeah. No one sits down and talks with you and says, okay, you've got a law degree, this is what you can do. Unless
it's into like one of the big top law firms or whatever in the country.
I think my worthiness at that point, I had already decided I'm not good enough for that. Because once my grades started slipping, I knew, oh, well, no one's going to hire me. And then I just sort of fell into a job. I was working, my very first job was a receptionist at a law firm.
Oh, right.
And that was awesome. I loved that law firm, and I actually tried to get a job there as a solicitor. I found just the other day on my computer a memo to the partners of the firm, basically stating why I would make a good trust manager and why I should do their trust and estates work. And that was basically because a partner there had taken me under his wing and introduced me to little bits of trust law. And that's what kind of led me to a different law firm just down the road who took me on as a trust and wills lawyer.
all of the trusts.
So much fun.
I still don't understand.
Oh, I don't even know if I do. Honestly, lawyers don't even understand trusts. Like, my very last law firm.
About the same.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a good description for it. No, the last law firm I worked at, I had an amazing mentor. My boss was very knowledgeable, and she loved to pass on her knowledge. And that was the only job where I really started to understand actually what a trust is and how it works. It's funny how you can just kind of fudge your way through your whole career.
That's really uplifting.
That sounds bad.
I'm pretty sure that's what I did too.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of lawyers are doing.
Yeah. Be interested to, because it was obviously something that allowed you to get through like 6 years of actually working as a lawyer. Mm-hmm. Like, were there some values or some, like, anything in law that did resonate with a part of you?
Yes, I held on to liking employment law. So I had there was something about employment law, and I always said it from, I think it was my second law firm, I was introduced to employment law, and I still can't put my finger on it. I think it was because not only had I experienced it myself, I had been in jobs even before law where I had absolutely awful managers, and
so it was like a sense of like doing the right thing, or like a justice, like sense of justice.
Yes, I think so. And so well, I remember actually I worked in retail and I had a manager, and she really was so awful. And at my first law firm, when I was on reception, a personal grievance came in against her.
Wow.
And a personal grievance being, someone making a claim against her. I don't actually know what it was for, and I remember thinking, I think that was the point for me where I thought to myself, that person was brave enough to actually stand up.
Yeah.
Because so many of us in that job left and hated it, and she really wore people down, and someone made a stand. And I think that for me,
so part of it, was it like resonating with the individuals that would bring a PG against an employer and be like, I want to help you because what you've done to this point is already so brave?
Yeah, I think that, and there was another personal, quite deep experience for me.
Yes.
Many years back with a job that I had, and I think I was quite young. Not a very nice experience. Working actually at a butcher's.
Oh God.
Yeah, and so
already sounds like the start of a horror movie.
It's a little bit of a horror movie.
Oh no.
And so I was probably like, I think it was my second job.
How old were you?
I want to say about 14.
At a butcher's?
At a butcher's.
Oh my gosh.
It sounds awful. I was just packing meat.
My brain went in so many different directions.
I can imagine it would. And it was nothing really bad, but it was an incident with the manager. And I think my family sort of started a personal grievance process. And then my dad chucked it out, deciding I was too young and it was too much on me.
It's a hard process for anyone.
It is.
Let alone a 14-year-old.
I know. And so I think that was also in the back of my mind, that experience. And then this later one. And there was something within all of that I wanted to be able to help people through that process and actually help make a change. Because, and then as I went through the legal industry and these different jobs, and again seeing so many unsatisfied people and Is unsatisfied a word? Or is it dissatisfied?
Well, now that you say both, pretty sure. Oh no,
I don't think it is.
I think it is.
Anyway, we'll just put it in the dictionary. Unsatisfied. I've said it twice
now. It's not
now.
that it's something we need to know.
No.
It's fine.
You know, it's just I've got that lawyer label that I should know. That was a
You
big
have to
thing.
know words.
Just sidetracking.
Yes.
Did you ever... I always got told, you're a lawyer, you should know that. Did you ever get that?
Sometimes. I think for me, because a lot of the work I did wasn't particularly like practical. Also,
Yeah.
people would ask about like tenancy or employment or something.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't know, go Google it.
Yes.
And
It's
then
like-
people would be like, shouldn't you know that? You're
Yes.
a lawyer. I'm like, I can defend you if you commit a crime, otherwise I'm pretty useless.
I love that because my answer was always, I can pretty much do anything for you. I'm a general practice lawyer. Wow, no, I can't do anything.
I can do anything.
I do. I'm amazing. I can do anything. No, I do all areas of law pretty much except for criminal.
Oh, yeah.
So,
So I would send people in your direction then. Like,
Yeah.
I can't help you.
but it's amazing how your friends, family, everyone would call you up and go, I've got this issue in any area of the law, you know.
Oh my God,
and it's
yes.
like, how do you think that I just know every single piece of law?
Even within an area of law.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different acts and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
Often you have to go away and research it, but I guess that's what being a lawyer is. It's problem solving.
I did a lot of Googling, to be fair.
100%.
People laugh at me, but I'm like, that's a research approach.
Every lawyer does.
And everything's on Google, and you have
Yeah.
like the Community Advice Bureau stuff. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
Oh, that's great.
easy.
Yeah, honestly. You
Just
still
print
do it.
that off and take it to my client.
Yeah, still do it to this day. But anyway, we did sidetrack a bit. But
That's
to
okay.
answer your question, I think I held on to employment law, and that was what got me through.
Yeah.
And each job I held on to, maybe one day finally being able to practice in employment law, and that's what led my movement to this Christchurch law firm. But it was very hard to be able to do employment law with a boss who's not in the same city, and
Yeah.
it just proved to be very tricky. And then I think as I went on from there, we had chats about it, about, well, how could you actually make a change? Maybe not being a lawyer, but
How can you take like that passion and those same values that were
Yeah.
driving you and turn that into something outside of
yeah. And I pondered on that for years.
law? Do you feel like if you were to step into that sort of role and try and help cultures within different workplaces, are you more driven to going into law firms or just general any business?
I used to think that that's what I wanted to do. And that was what I pondered on for years, was I would love to go into a law firm and help make things better and help, I guess, resolve problems before they got to grievance stage.
Yes, because I guess you'd seen some pretty bad situations. You'd seen like
Yes.
the worst case.
Well, and just a lot of it being around poor communication.
So you could see that it was like fairly easy fix if you started early enough.
Yes, I want to say it's an easy fix, but I guess what I realised as I went along was, would the employer actually want to make a change? You know, because like the conversations I have with my new boss are very focused around open communication. You know, she always says to me, if you have a problem, I want you to be able to just start that line of communication. Whatever it is, just start it. Because the moment you create a monster in your head about it, you've already told yourself a story, you've already made a conclusion. And so, I don't know, in law, it was always, I never felt like I had anyone I could talk to about whatever that thing was. And so I tried to reflect and think, okay, could I go into a business like that? And how could I help make a change?
Yeah.
What would that look like?
Is that still an idea that you're passionate about, or
I started to lose interest.
Yes.
And I started...
It seems like a big ask.
Yeah. And I don't know that I've got it in me. I don't know that that's what I want to focus my energy on, I guess I should say. When I would rather actually work with the person who's... Because we've all got... I want to say issues.
I don't know what direction
there was hesitation
going.
there. We've all
you
got...
look at me and say issues.
No! I was like, how do I put this nicely? But we've all got things that, you know, we could work on or want to work on. And I think when there's issues in a workplace, we're all looking at it from our own lens. So everything that's gone on in my life... I'm attaching meaning to things that someone does.
Yes. And I guess to try and fix any of it, you need all parties to want to work on it. Which probably isn't going to happen in a lot of workplaces.
No, and that's how I think you and I had a discussion. The first time we met, we sat down and we
just yarned.
We yarned all day.
Typical.
It must have been at least 5 hours.
I think so.
And I remember thinking, we were talking about it and we said, how would you approach that? Would it be through the employee or the employer? And then it just all became too hard basket. I decided I would rather work with a person who wants to change themselves and maybe they're not the right fit for that organisation. If things aren't going right, can you change things within you to make that better? Or do you just need to do what we both did?
Yeah. So I'll keep telling people to quit then. That's the answer.
Well, I think the answer is you've got to trust yourself.
And I think you
do
deep down if the workplace is working for you or not.
Yeah.
You know. And if you can keep showing up and doing what you do, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if it's taking like so much of your energy, then it probably isn't a good fit.
Yeah. And I remember you saying to me in that very last end chapter, you never said to me, just quit, but you kind of...
I tried.
You went around the topic by saying, you know, do you think that, you know, you would just feel better if you did just quit? And
so subtle.
Yeah, and I think you know when you're ready, and it's just getting to that point. I left it until the very last stage of, okay, I'm there. I can't do this anymore. Nothing's changing.
Yeah.
And
now you're free. So how does everything feel now? So you've got a new job, sort of full, not quite full-time hours, but...
Yeah, what's full-time?
I don't know. What is full-time?
I'm 37 hours, roughly, I think.
That's basically full-time.
Basically full-time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels good. It's been a lot of processing.
Yeah.
And I think we're always processing.
I don't think we ever stop.
No. But it was nice because I had probably about 3 weeks off where I was just in conversation at that point.
Is that your dog?
That's my dog in the background.
Just saying hi.
Yeah, wants to jump into the chat. It's time for a walk, apparently. Yeah, so I took those 3 weeks and roughly just to kind of process and reflect and take time for me, because I think a massive thing is burnout, and it's not talked about, but...
No, it's not. Or like... You're so close. It doesn't really matter. I think what I found as well, like, I knew that I was getting to the point of burnout when I quit. I wasn't quite there, but I was on the way.
Yes.
But I think no matter, like, how far along you are on the path to burnout, there's still a lot of recovery. You don't have to have hit burnout before you need recovery.
Good point. Because I wasn't burnt out, but I was more overwhelmed. I remember writing in my journal and just, I think I read it the other day. It was the day that I finished it, or that weekend, and I remember saying, I feel so overwhelmed, but I'm also free now.
Yes.
And then I was in discussions about this next job, and I remember feeling this is right, and then I had a another wee break before I started that, and now I have really just dived straight in there.
But does it feel more aligned?
It feels so much more aligned.
Yes.
Yeah, it just feels right. I'm not sitting in an office all day looking at a computer screen, and I'm on my feet, and I'm still getting that connection with people, which is what I wanted.
And a manager that kind of just gets you, or like understands you, but then lets you operate the way that you want to.
Yes, which is huge. Yeah, so it's an exciting change.
Yeah. Do you feel like this is a long-term thing, or this is just a...
I feel like I've taken that pressure off myself to not worry too much in the long term, because I think that's what holds you back from making a change is this going to be the lifelong thing that I'm going to do for the rest of my life? And that's where you start to overthink and self-doubt. And so I just said to myself, we agreed this is going to be, give it 2 or 3 months and see how things go. And that's okay. And we have that agreement that if, it doesn't sit well and I get a couple of months in and I'm not enjoying it, that's okay.
Yeah.
I can move on and try something different.
It's amazing, like, the freedom you find just in that itself, and letting go of the attachment that whatever you're doing has to be your next, like, career, or it has to be a long-term job, but actually, like, allowing yourself to be like, no, I'll give this a go. Yeah. And just see what happens.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have your whole life planned out.
Yeah.
You just give it a go. You've got some income, and if it's actually something you're enjoying, aligns more with you. And I know for me, like, basically working for minimum wage, but it aligns so much more, and it's allowed me to continue kind of my own healing, trying to fix my nervous system. I'm not stressed. I don't take work home with me anymore.
Yeah.
Like, just comparing it back, and I'm like, I'm not actually too worried about the money, because all the other benefits are there. I'm like, I'd much rather be doing this. Yeah. And feeling like I have the, like, sovereignty back over my life.
Absolutely.
And being, more in control of your own time. And it feels like what I'm doing now is more of a conscious choice, rather than just, like, going with the flow, ticking the boxes, doing what other, like, society tells you that you're supposed to do.
Yes. And that is a big one, is, I don't even feel like I myself chose law. And that sounds silly, because of course I did. I went to university and I did it, but that was suggested to me by other people, and I thought, okay, yeah. Whereas this career move now is something that I said, I'm going to try this. Yeah. I'm going to have fun with it. And I chose this path, whether it's short term, whether it's long term. I just said to myself, I'm going to have fun. Yeah. That was my number one goal. And I said to myself, I'm not going to worry about the money. The money will sort itself out. I just chose to believe that. Yes, I do have a mortgage to pay. And yes, this job kind of just meets the mortgage. But that's okay. I'll figure it out, And so, it feels good.
Yes. I'm so stoked that you're finally on the freedom side with me. Yay. Out of the cage.
I broke free.
But it's so interesting doing my own, like, kind of healing, because it's only like 5 months or so since I quit. Yeah. So it's still not that long ago, but doing my own healing, and then kind of watching you, like, where I was. Yeah. I'm like, are you quitting yet?
Yeah.
Every time I saw you,
keep
like,
going. Yeah.
But it's been amazing, like, now that you've escaped,
I have.
that we can have those conversations.
Yeah.
And realising that there's so much more out there. And once you kind of realise, like, oh, this is what freedom is like.
Mm-hmm. And isn't it crazy once you take a step? Like, you think about the timing of when we met. Yes. Isn't it crazy? Yeah. How we met at that time, and I feel like that really helped me, because you had just done what
I was like less than a week Or maybe just over a week.
Something like that. Yeah. Which is mad. And then I kind of saw you do that. And that absolutely inspired me because I was like, okay, she's done this.
It is possible. But yeah, like sometimes you just need a little bit of reassurance.
Yeah.
Like you can trust your own intuition and trust yourself, but having someone else kind of show like you can do it and it'll be fine.
Yeah, because it does. And I was listening to a lot of podcasts as well and everything like that, but you see other people be brave and be bold and make a risky decision because it is risky.
Yeah, and with so many other people, like a lot of people in your life might be questioning.
Yes.
Like, are you crazy? What is your plan?
Yeah.
But what I found as well was I had a few people questioning.
Yeah.
But actually just showing up and being like, no, this is my decision. Or I'm going to have a break. Or this is what I'm doing.
Yes.
And then they stopped asking questions.
Yes. And that was a big thing because my dad is a massive influence in my life. And he is someone that always questions my decisions. And I was quite nervous to speak to him. But I chose to spoke to him when I was ready. And at that point, I had made the decision. And I remember being a little bit worried about his response, but I was so clear in what I was doing that when I said to him, I'm leaving law, he said, okay, that's great.
Yeah.
I think it's time for you to move on. And I think
That's amazing.
I was shocked at the response. I was like, is that it? Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's like there's something kind of changes, like your energy shifts.
Yes.
When you show up and you're like, this is my truth.
Yes.
Take it or leave it.
Yes.
I've made the decision. And then they're like, oh, okay.
And that is that thing. That was my goal, was to start standing in my truth and actually just owning it. Because I think when you own it, people don't question it as much. They will, but you've got so much certainty within yourself that it doesn't shake you at all. You just, you stand strong and...
Yeah. Yes. And it's been so lovely to see you standing in your own truth as well, post-escape from law. It's so much more that we could yarn about. We've got so many different topics that we could delve into. But it's been great covering this one because it's been something that's been very present for me recently. You know, you kind of start questioning, am I actually crazy? Am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
But it's nice having other people sharing that experience as well. So thank you so much for yarning with me today.
Thank you.
Hope it hasn't been too traumatic reliving everything.
Oh, I love it. I love talking. We could yarn for hours. So yeah, I'm sure we'll talk again.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.